It is the mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden. And today at the Garden, the Heat take on the New York Knicks in Game 4 of their opening round playoff series. And yes, a victory today. Box
double team, finds Wade underneath. LeBron, Run, they did. Box with a slam dunk.
The Heat are on the brink of sweeping the Knicks in the first round.
They say the series doesn't start until one team wins on the road. Well, the Heat did just that on Thursday night, breaking open a close game with a solid second-half performance to beat the Knicks and take a commanding 3-game lead in the series.
Wade beat the clock and beat the Knick defense.
Dwayne Wade took over with 12 points and 5 steals in the third quarter alone when LeBron James got into foul trouble. And then in the fourth quarter, James came back off the bench to lead the way.
LeBron hits a three. Oh, my.
He scored 17 in the quarter and finished with 32 points, a game high.
Bosh from the corner, triples.
New daddy Chris Bosh contributed with 9 points and 10 rebounds on the same day his wife gave birth to his first son. And the role players also chipped in. Mario Chalmers scored 19 points as the Heat won the game 87-70.
James to finish. Foul.
The Heat also took care of business in the first 2 games of the series. 1 week ago, it was a blowout win in Game 1. And then on Monday, the Heat had a convincing victory in Game 2. One of Miami's most complete offensive performances of the season. So today, the Heat will try to close out the series with what they're hoping will be their first ever playoff sweep over the New York Knicks.
Video where LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, the two superstars and best friends, messing around with each other after practice yesterday. Very loose heading into Game 4. Now, the third member of the Big Three, he was back on the court yesterday as well. Chris Bosh flew back to New York City, made it to practice, and he took a bunch of extra jumpers, making sure that his shot is ready for Game 4 as the Heat try to make the most of this opportunity to knock out the New York Knicks on their home court.
You know, obviously, we know it's a closeout game, and we want to close it out. But at the same time, we can't go into, the first possession of the game saying we got to close this game out. And we got to play the game. We got to play it just as hard and just as smart as we have been.
Well, it's an opportunity that's in front of us. So why not go for it? We're in a position where we can close this series out, and we don't want to take it for granted. But at the same time, we just want to play our game. If we play our game, we give ourselves a good chance to win.
At the end of the season, and I think that he feels the sting from that criticism of last year's playoff failure. You see him going inside now, you see him going outside, and Will, I'm telling you, I don't know what's been more impressive about LeBron in this series, his offense or his defense. The way that he smothered Carmelo Anthony has just been a huge key to the victories for the Heat.
And it goes to show how sometimes maybe as in the media, as fans, people take LeBron's skill set and his talent for granted because he does this and you're like, wow, look at the way he does. But I mean, he does this all the time. We just kind of lose sight of it because he's so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say this, though, Will, as much as we see LeBron with the dunks and the inside and the outside, we still do need to see him do it in the finals.
No, that's
because
true.
That's the single knock on his record. But listen.
But credit goes to the Heat in many ways for the way they have done this defensively.
Yeah, listen, we have to start with Eric Spoelstra because he's the one who has devised a game plan against Carmelo. We saw Shane Battier fronting Carmelo Anthony, and Carmelo said, I didn't expect that. We've seen different guys staying on Steve Novak. And they're not double teaming off of Steve Novak when they double team Carmelo. And then, but most of the credit, when you see Mario Chalmers, he's not afraid of anything. He loves matchups in big cities against big point guards, and that's what you're seeing now. He had a good finals last year coming off the bench behind Mike Bibby. We might just be seeing a continuation of that.
It could be.
Maybe Rio is just a clutch performer in the playoffs.
Maybe that's what it is. He showed it in college. So much for that. And we are courtside there, live from Madison Square Garden, inside MSG, and look who's there. Mike Miller, about 3.5 hours before the game, and Miller is out there taking jump shots, working on his shot. I remember asking Mike when he's coming back from his hernia surgery earlier in the year, how many shots do you take a day? He says, about 1,000. And there's about 3 or 4 more we've seen out of those 1,000. Heat Knicks, a day in which the Heat could clinch their first-round series, and Mike may be a key part of the pregame show. Yeah, Mike Miller's on shot 777, 778's about to come up. Stay tuned for NBA coverage as we take a look inside the Garden one last time. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here after the doubleheader.
Tyson Chandler and Brendan Haywood of Dallas really hurt the Heat on the boards, and on the offensive boards especially. That's something that Chicago does very well, and not that they might be around to see the Heat in these playoffs,
the way things are going,
but you need Chris Bosh to assert himself on those boards. The Heat is not a big team. The Heat is not a physical team, so he needs to take a big part of that presence, and when he does that, everything works better.
Yeah, and it's funny. Here's a guy in Toronto was a double-digit rebound guy all the time, and you haven't seen it as much, but it is big. Another thing that's big is Dwayne Wade. We shouldn't be surprised by this, obviously, but the other night in that Game 3, he took over the third quarter where LeBron was in foul trouble. You know, he's proven he can close, and he proves now that he can also step up when LeBron has any kind of issues.
Exactly, and this year it's been funny because it's been LeBron's team definitely while Dwayne has nursed a bunch of injuries. Dwayne has kind of taken the backseat approach, you would think, but in the clutch and in the times that you need Dwayne, he's there. You talk about that third quarter, and Dwayne was the presence. He was there. That was a close game, and LeBron gets in foul trouble in the third quarter. He's on the bench, and Dwayne just goes on the attack, vintage Dwayne Wade.
It goes to show again what makes this discussion.
Exactly, and there's nothing LeBron can do about that now. But you talk about the last game. I believe he outscored the Knicks 17-14 in the fourth quarter, and we have seen this time and again this season. LeBron taking over in the fourth quarter, whether it's shooting the threes, whether it's driving to the rim like this against Carmelo Anthony, just a madman, possessed, attacking the basket, finishing at the free throw line, three-point plays, just everything that LeBron is doing in the fourth quarter seems to be pointing to he's going to change that finals fate.
I agree with you.
Under the compact season, the 66 games, the lockout shortened season, and everything has been accelerated. We've seen a lot of wear and tear on players. Some people think that all these injuries are related to the compacted season, so you would have to think that this break from a sweep would do the Heat a world.
But how about Pat Riley and Michael Douglas? We used to always joke, those two good pals. Couldn't he play Riley in a movie? I think so. All right. First period, let's get underway. Wade with the steal, driving in for the easy two. The Heat out to a quick lead, 8-1. They had that 8-0 run. But Carmelo, I mentioned he had a huge day, takes over 11 points here. He gets in a string in the third quarter, taking over the impossible shot to give the Knicks a 6-point lead. And then in the fourth, you know you got to go to Melo. You know you got to cover him. Shane Battier doing his best, but Melo hits the three, scored 41 points. With the Heat down 2, Dwayne Wade, final shot, kind of lost his dribble there at one point, had to go outside, take the three, does not fall. So the Heat do fall in this game, 89-87 the final. And as we mentioned, there will be a Game 5. The Knicks win their first playoff game in 13 tries. They seem to play well. Again, that aggressive nature. In the fourth quarter, he decided to go to Wade late, which you can't really fault him for that. But LeBron, again, was on his game for the most part.
Yeah, LeBron really was. And look, he carried this team for the first three quarters, and Dwayne came alive late in the game. But, we saw LeBron again doing it inside, doing it outside, doing it from the free throw line. He was the only guy consistently getting to the free throw line, and he put in hard work. The fourth quarter, they did turn the game over to Dwayne. Maybe that's something else that's going to be questioned, but that's been a formula that's worked pretty much the whole season for the Heat. Everybody but Carmelo Anthony. It was a good thing for the Knicks that Amari Stoudemire was able to get out there and play. But look, blocked shots, steals, forcing turnovers. We saw the Heat defense do everything but stop Carmelo Anthony, and that was the thing. But they were in the passing lanes. You see Dwayne there, very disruptive, anticipating passes. This is how the Heat won games all season with their transition and fast break offense.
All right, let's go to the